So here, I got a Nuffield 465. The block heater went bad. So, a modern solution to modern problems. No parts for this thing. Can't find a right block heater. Can't use glow plugs. Odd size heater bypass hose to put on an external pump. And a lower radiator hose that's been modified so that a modern charging system could be attached. A BMC 130 alternator. So, I looked in every book, every manual for the right size block heater for that opening. Could not find the one I needed. So, what I did was I said, well, the old block heater looked just like a hot water heater element. This is 1500 watts. The other was 400 watts. So, took some measurements of the hole. I put those threads in there, by the way. And I says, what size hole is needed for a 1 inch pipe thread was 11.5 inches, 11.5 threads per inch. So the hole was about 4 or 5 thousandths too small. Took a carbide bit, and I made a careful adjustment. Then I smoothed it out with one of these flap disc. So I also needed to go inside of the coolant passage because the element was starting to hit the sides of it just a little bit. So I took this tap very carefully and I tapped a hole a bit deeper than needed. The only thing that I found when tapping that hole is that hole is not centered with the opening. So what I'm going to do, so I flushed out that hole with coolant, blew it out. So I took the gasket off from this heater element. This is a 110. It's for a little baby water heater. I found it right at Home Depot, $9. The tap was more than that, it was $17. What I'm going to do, I'm going to clean that out good. Now I still turn it and I still feel it touching a little bit in here. So I'm going to mark this with a paint marker where I feel it binding, and hopefully when I tighten that down, it's not going to be in the wrong spot. So the gasket will not seal that. The hole's offset. It wouldn't have sealed it anyways because this here has to go up against that block and I don't think the gasket was plump enough, and it's not really made for that antifreeze. It's for a hot water heater in your home. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take JB Weld and I'm going to clean this up. I'm going to take JB Weld and seal those threads and tighten the shit out of it. And hope for the best. If it does not work, I have a backup plan. I had a backup plan all along. There's two things you can do here. You can go and get a concave soft plug that's about 1.5 inches in diameter. Napa can get them. I don't have the part number, which this hole being less meat up here might not, it's just enough of a lip there to seal. If you put some high tack on it. That's what they used to use to put gaskets, oil pan gaskets and stuff on. An old machinist showed me that trick. Or I could go to Napa and get the 1.25 inch. This is about 1.25 inch rubber soft plug, which I don't like using. But it would seal this hole, especially now it's clean. Take the flap disc and clean it and clean it and clean it. So, another thing, you might think it might be too hot. Yes, you're right, it might be too hot. It's 4 times almost the size of the original element, but one of those original elements cannot be had. I got the part number off the old one. Did some checking on eBay. They showed one, but it had the hook that went like this inside the block. Impossible. I've looked through every Cat brand block heater and some other brands through other catalogs. They showed some generic pictures. I had to look other sources to see, because it had the right opening here and it had the right opening in here, but the element was the wrong way. So I think I'm going to put a timer on it, or I'll have to sit here and babysit it. I know about how hot the other one got just by touch, because it did work right up until this month ago. I needed it the most, and I had this big snowblower on this thing. So it's not something you're going to walk away from. I think it's pretty close to cylinders. I think it'll do a good job. I know the other one did a pretty good job in a couple hours. I think this one's going to be measured in probably a half an hour, if that. So we'll see how long it survives in antifreeze. If it lasts a year or two, you go to Home Depot and you buy another one for $9 or $10. Every block heater I found that was close to that opening that had the wrong element was $50 and up. The only other thing I thought of using, we used to use them on some of the 6.2 diesels, 6.5 diesels, is taking the mat, the stick-on mat like you use on an oil pan. There's a nice big area there, and sticking that on there. But they're also about $100 a piece, and I need at least a couple of them. Another thing I'm going to try, I've got some GM glow plugs. I'm going to take the intake off and drill and tap a hole here, and drill and tap a hole here. They're 10mm thread. It's a really odd size drill bit. I'm going to have to try to cheat it up. This is a small pipe plug here. I also got a Massey Ferguson style, I call it, glow plug that has a fuel line hook to it that lights the fire inside the intake. I might try that, just the heating element side. That's the same thread as an oxygen sensor, 18x1.5, but the drill bit required for that is also an odd size. So I'm going to try this first and see how it works. And I guess we'll go from there. This will probably work with a Leyland 3.8TD. I don't know about the smaller tractors. Another thing is too, I was looking on some of the other tractors, the 154s and whatnot, Leylands, they had glow plugs that went in here, down in there, it's hard to see, in there. I know it's a totally different engine, a totally different series of tractor, but I've had the cylinder head off this, they're not drilled for it, but I'm just curious if anybody's ever tried it. I know it'd be in the way of the intake, but you could maybe get two, one on each end. So let me know what you think. Electric fuel pump for priming. I got more to come. Thanks.